Hare Thank you, good chanters.
And now you can all come forward.
So you may see everybody's now.
Hare Krishna, thank you everyone for coming. So today we have very wonderful devotees with us. His Grace Prithrusrava Prabhu and His Grace Prithrusrava Prabhu and Dhanakeli Mataji. They have come here. This is the second time this year, so I am extremely happy, and we are extremely fortunate to have them. They are our favorite speakers. So you can see that Mataji is houseful. Everybody is here. The whole Bhakti Riksha is here. Today we will be speaking. They will be giving a lecture on Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 23rd shloka. So let us open the Bhagavad Gita book so that we can read, repeat, and then read the purport. They will be reading the purport and discuss. Thank you.
It's now 7:36.
Do you people feel hot? Do you want me to increase? It's fine? Yeah, okay. Just let me know if it suffocates or
Alright, everyone up. Start. Obeisances to the Lord before we start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Okay. Let's repeat, we'll go through 3 times the Sanskrit. You say. Ye pi anya devata bhakta. Ye pi anya devata bhakta. Yajante shadayan vitaha. Yajante shadayan vitaha. Te pi mam eva kaunteya. Te pi mam eva kaunteya. Yajanti avidhi purvakam. Yajanti avidhi purvakam. Anya devata bhakta. Anya devata bhakta. Yajante shadayan vitaha. Yajante shadayan vitaha. Tepi mam eva kaunteya. Tepi mam eva kaunteya. Yajanti avidhi purvakam. Yajanti avidhi purvakam. Tepi anya devata bhakta. Tepi anya devata bhakta. Shadayan vitaha. Yajante shadayan vitaha. Tepi mam eva kaunteya. Tepi mam eva kaunteya. Yajanti avidhi purvakam. Yajanti avidhi purvakam. Translation. Those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship me, only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. We'll repeat this translation. I say, you say. Those who are devotees of other gods, and who worship them with faith, actually worship only me, O son of Kunti. But they do so in a wrong way. Persons who are engaged in the worship of demigods are not very intelligent, although such worship is offered to me indirectly, Krishna says. For example, when a man pours water on the leaves and branches of a tree without pouring water on the root, he does so without sufficient knowledge or without observing regulative principles. So this is a pretty simple point. Everyone understand? But really clears the air. It's very wonderful about going beyond any misconceptions. Similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. The demigods are, so to speak, different officers and directors in the government of the Supreme Lord. One has to follow the laws made by the government, not by the officers or directors.
I know you are new.
Another nice analogy, and pointing out there's a hierarchy. There's the Supreme Lord, right? Bhagavan Vacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead here in Gita speaking. And then within the material creation, he has his representatives in charge of very important departments of management. And so they are trusted, it says officers in the government. They are devotees of the Lord. Similarly, everyone is to offer his worship to the Supreme Lord only. That will automatically satisfy the different officers and directors of the Lord. The officers and directors are engaged as representatives of the government, and to offer some bribe to the officers and directors is illegal. This is stated here as avidi purvakam. In other words, Krishna does not approve the unnecessary worship of the demigods. The word for word synonyms, avidi purvakam is translated as in a wrong way. So, as a responsible citizen, he pays his taxes to the government. But, sometimes we hear of this process of trying to get something special, maybe, and offering a little bribe to a government officer, right? Illegal in one sense, and really not necessary in a properly managed governmental system or economic system. So Krishna is discouraging these says he's not approving of the unnecessary worship of the demigods. We offer all respects to the demigods, empowered persons. They're empowered by the Lord to do their different service. But they're not the object of our worship. They are worshiping the Lord and they're serving Him. So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is bringing us to the point of understanding that He is the real object of worship and devotion. And by doing that, we'll get everything we need. I'll just back up the verse here. So what have you been doing for the rest of the day? Covered up everyone.
Oh, some questions here.
Oh, this is special. Okay. Anyway, I'll just back up one verse at 22. The Lord says, "But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have." So if we accept that the Lord is the cause of all causes, from Him coming, aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate, from Him coming all material and spiritual things, then our faith, our shraddha, can go just to worship Krishna with exclusive devotion. That's very simple. I mean, there's so many demigods, so if those who are worshiping demigods, there's some kind of speculation, oh, should I worship this one or this one? And you all know, you're coming out of this culture. A lot of people are worshiping just because, well, my mother, my grandmother worshipped, so I'm doing, that's our tradition. But we're all Krishna's parts and parcels. Krishna says that all living entities are my eternally my part and parcels. We belong to Krishna. We don't belong to the devatas. We're not emanating from their work. We're parts and parcels of Krishna. So we belong to Him. So therefore, we should let our devotion go to Him and be fully confident that Krishna will supply what we need. As it said that we may think we need this much, but Krishna knows what we need. So then we feel satisfied getting what God is giving. We're in a culture that's promoting dissatisfaction. So people think they get so much. And just go to the verse after 24, where it says, I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifices. Therefore, those who do not recognize my true transcendental nature fall down. So, the purpose of sacrifice, of yajna, is to satisfy Vishnu. We say Vishnu Tattva includes Krishna, Vishnu, Sri Ram, and Vishnu Tattva. So it's our obligation, like as a dutiful citizen, he has an obligation to understand the workings of the government, the system of government. And so it's our obligation to understand the Lord's position, his position of master. He's the origin of all, including the devatas. So it's actually simple, and Krishna's explaining it here to Arjuna and to all of us. One more verse, another famous verse, 25. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Those who worship me will live with me. So Krishna's position in Krishna's world, the eternal spiritual realm, which is home for souls. You don't have to change position again. That's Krishna's world. Otherwise, every other place will have to change our position. So, back to the verse. In one of Prabhupada's analogies, he says, similarly, the process of rendering service to different parts of the body is to supply food to the stomach. So we should answer the question, is it really intelligent we know how this body works. Is it actually intelligent to try to put the food in the eye or the ear? We laugh, it's laughable. So, in the same way, the worship of devatas, who are instruments, government officers for Krishna. It won't actually carry out the purpose of yajna or puja. And once we understand our purpose as parts and parcels of Krishna, is to satisfy him, and then the process of putting food to the stomach and satisfying every limb and organ of the body will go on nicely. We're looking to be fully satisfied, happy individuals. So it's dependent on us spiritually putting ourselves consciously and with our mind, body, and words in relationship to Krishna. And then we become satisfied getting that experience of being here. But this is the point that's being stressed. And we have to get some realization. So Krishna's giving that. As we go on hearing Gita, as we take up this Yuga Dharma of chanting the names of the Lord, we can start to feel more and more satisfaction. So we have to be convinced ourselves. So our determination to regularly perform our puja, our meditation, why are we chanting Hare Krishna? The mind will challenge. So for ourselves, we have to, hear nicely, hear Krishna. Krishna says that he tells Arjuna, just hear from me. How by practicing this yoga with mind attached to me, fully attached to me, you can know me in full, free from all doubt. So we want to deal with our own doubts, and then we'll always have friends or family that are challenging us about what we're doing. Why we're only worshiping Krishna, giving our unalloyed devotion to Krishna. Because this is a spiritual process. Pour water on the root of the tree, all the branches, leaves, fruits, flowers flourish. Put of the hand, don't let the hand put food in any of the other holes of the body. Just put to the mouth and the whole body is nourished. Happy, strong, healthy. It's a simple point, but let me stop there. I'm sure we'll leave time we can have some discussion.
Has anybody here ever used a tool or an instrument or a vehicle or maybe even a computer program where you're using it and then somebody says to you, excuse me, but you're not using it in the proper way? You know, maybe you put the blade in the food processor upside down. That happened to me once. Right? Have you had this experience?
Yes.
Dia, you've had that experience, huh?
Playing-
What was that?
Playing the flute the wrong way.
Oh, you had to turn around this way? All right. See? Very common. The different instruments and tools and vehicles and software, whatever, that we're using. If you don't thoroughly read the instruction manual or have somebody personally instruct you, it's quite likely that you're going to innocently or out of ignorance make some mistakes. So how do you feel when somebody comes up to you and nicely says, you know what? You're not cutting your vegetables properly in the food processor because maybe you have the blade upside down, or you're not getting any music out of your food because you're holding it 180 degrees in the wrong direction. Don't we feel grateful that somebody has corrected us so we don't go through the rest of our life being a fool? Right? We're putting that flute to our mouth because we want to make music. And we're feeling frustrated that I'm blowing really hard and nothing's coming out. So tonight, we're discussing a very, very significant topic. How many people here have the desire to make their spiritual life in this lifetime? How many people here want to make their spiritual practices, their spiritual life perfect? Right? We want to do it perfectly because we don't want to let you go to school. You want to get the good grade and get out and graduate. You don't want to get a letter in the mail that says, you know what, you got a flunking grade in algebra. You have to come back next year and do the whole course over again. Nobody wants to do that. So throughout Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has encouraged Arjuna, and therefore he's encouraging all of us, that we can perfect our spiritual path in this lifetime. We don't have to get that letter in the mail that says, excuse me, you have to take birth again. Right? When death comes, we're going to get our final piece of mail. And that final piece of mail is going to tell us either you've graduated, here's your diploma, back home, back to Godhead. Or the letter's going to say, you have to take birth again and learn a few more lessons. So one of the main obstacles to our perfecting our spiritual life is lack of proper understanding of what we're doing. Many things in this material world, you don't even have to have an understanding, and you can go through the motions and get it done. How many people really understand when we open up our phone and we touch this and we go like this and we do like that, how it actually works? We don't really know. You go on your computer and you do all these things. You might know something, especially if you're like a programmer or something, but we don't really know how it works or why it works. We just know, do this, go through the mechanics, and you get a result. That's because things in this material world are mechanical. So even you're totally ignorant, you might even be a total fool, but if you just know, press the red button, press the blue button, press the green button, you get your result. But in spiritual life, it all rests on our understanding, our intention, our motive, our consciousness. In today's world, a vast majority, like probably 95%, of what is being practiced in the fields of religion, doesn't matter whether you're looking at the Hindu tradition, the Muslim tradition, the Buddhist tradition, the Christian tradition, the Jewish tradition, this tradition or that tradition. 95% probably of what's going on in those religious traditions is mechanical, ritualistic performances. And the people don't actually really understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, how it works, how to improve it. And due to that lack of proper understanding, one doesn't get the proper results. So how merciful is it if somebody comes up to us and says, excuse me, can I please educate you on the proper understanding, the proper mentality, the proper motive? Then you can actually get the proper result. Otherwise, it's like a waste of time, right? So, Srila Prabhupada, he used to boast, if you will, I don't mean that in a negative way, but in a little bit of a proud way, he would explain that this Krishna consciousness movement is the only movement that's truly educating the world on what's called Siddhanta. Anta means the end. Siddha means perfection. So Siddhanta means that the end of that understanding, the knowledge of perfection, how to reach perfection. The perfect conclusion is what I'm trying to say. Siddhanta means the perfect conclusion. You might read a book, and then we ask you to write a little book report. What did you learn from this book? Right? And people will come up with so many, this is what I learned, this is what I learned. But what is the perfect conclusion? You have your conclusion, you have your conclusion. What is the perfect conclusion? So Srila Prabhupada would say like that we are talking about the Bhakti Siddhanta, the perfect conclusion according to the Bhakti school. So Srila Prabhupada very much emphasized that we study these books and we distribute these books to others to study, and that in our temples and in our sanghas or gatherings, that our gathering is centered on studying the books, understanding the theology. So one major misunderstanding in the Hindu umbrella, big umbrella called Hinduism, and there's so many schools under that umbrella. One major misunderstanding in that, under that Hindu umbrella today, is what is the position of the demigods, why or if they should be worshipped, etc. Why is this misunderstanding present? Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna that transcendental knowledge has been passed down since time immemorial, but due to the effects of time, especially in Kali Yuga, due to the effects of time, that lineage of self-realized transcendentalists who totally imbibe the teachings and realize the teachings and then pass them on to their disciples, who then in turn pass them on to their disciples, these lineages have been broken. And due to that break, the knowledge either gets lost, or it gets adulterated, or it gets watered down. So the Vaishnava Sampradayas that are still extant in this world, that are still going on, there's only 4 remaining. And one great revival done by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago was to inaugurate the Gaudiya Sampradaya, coming from Lord Chaitanya of West Bengal. And one of the greatest missions of the Gaudiya Sampradaya is to educate people on the proper Siddhanta, so that they can so that people can fully take advantage of their human form of life, attain perfect spiritual realization, and not take birth again. So one of the major misunderstandings that Srila Prabhupada spent quite some time in discussing is this position of demigod worship. So I have a couple of things I would like to share with you from the writings. Well, first of all, I would like to say that what we see here in the material world is some kind of perverted reflection of the spiritual world. So whatever we have here is there. There's nothing here that's not there. But in the spiritual world, those things are perfect and eternal and in their original unperverted form. When their reflection, you know what a reflection is, it's backwards, it's upside down, it's inside out. So the reflection in the material world is different than the prototype of the spiritual world. So many of you may not know this. I've met many persons who are surprised to learn this. But in the eternal spiritual world, in Vaikuntha, Lord Vishnu has so many, many, many associates and servants and entourage. Part of that entourage or associates are the original spiritual forms of the devas. Some people are actually surprised to learn this because they didn't learn it growing up or whatever. So here I just wanted to read a little something. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 27th chapter, Krishna is educating Uddhava on so many topics. And one of the topics he covers is deity worship. And he goes through a description on how the deity of Vishnu should be properly worshipped. In that description, Krishna says to Uddhava that with rituals, one should worship Durga, Vinayaka, who's Ganesh, right? Vyas, Vishvaksena, the spiritual masters, and the various demigods. All these personalities should be in their proper places, facing the deity of Lord Vishnu. In the purport, we hear the following, that according to Srila Jiva Goswami, Jiva Goswami was charged by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was given charge of a very, very, very important task. Jiva Goswami was asked by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to compile the Siddhanta, to compile Bhakti Shastras, which set out in black and white the Siddhanta. This is the final word. You know, like when you go to court, like the final word is whatever the judge at the Supreme Court gives. That's it. No more appealing, no more argument, right? So many books are written, so many people speak. The Jiva Goswami was charged with this duty by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to give the final Supreme Court judgment, if you will, on the Siddhanta. So here in the purport it said that Srila Jiva Goswami, according to Jiva Goswami, the Ganesh and Durga mentioned in this verse are not the same personalities present within the material world. Rather, they are eternal associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha. They're associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha. In this world, those associates of the Lord in Vaikuntha planets, they then have their counterparts, if you will, in this world. In this world, there are jivas like you and me, individual jivas, that can take different positions in the material world. Sometimes we're taking birth as an animal in an animal body. Sometimes we're taking, a very low birth. Sometimes we're taking a human birth. Sometimes we're going to the heavenly planets, getting very high births. And sometimes jivas can take the posts of demigods. You could become the president of the country. Why not? Anybody. You could become the president. You could become the president. So a jiva can become situated in a dog body, or they can become situated in a demigod body. They're jivas. But those jivas who are in those demigod bodies in the material world, they're empowered by their prototypes in Vaikuntha, the original Ganesh, the original Durga, the original Shiva, the original like that. So in the material world, the demigods can only supply material benedictions. They don't supply spiritual benedictions. They have a job here to perform, to administer the universe and what have you. So the purport continues that the personalities mentioned here are eternally liberated associates of the Lord who reside in the spiritual sky beyond the material manifestation. And the point was that devotees, Vaishnava devotees, should show respect to these eternal servitors. And one should not fear becoming polluted by worshiping these eternal servitors. However, how many people in this world, in the name of demigod worship, are actually worshiping the eternal servitors of Vishnu? Unfortunately, the proof is that one doesn't worship the eternal servitors of the Lord, the spiritual master, the associates of Vishnu, Ganesh, Durga, etc. One doesn't worship them for some material benediction. You don't go to your Gaudiya Vaishnava guru, perform guru puja, and pray to them that they bless you, that you get a pay raise, or that you get a beautiful spouse, or that you get cured of your cancer. That's not what we go to Gaudiya Vaishnava guru for. One only goes to the guru for spiritual benedictions. Similarly, one does not worship the eternal servitors of Vishnu for any kind of material benediction. So what we see going on in this world, you go to your Ganesh pujas or your Durga pujas and, whatever, you name it. And what are the people who are attending there for? And what are the priests who are performing the ritual asking for? It's material benedictions. So Krishna does not recommend that. That's not what he's telling Uddhava. He's telling Uddhava, Vishnu should be worshipped. And wherever there's Vishnu, his associates are there. He's not all lonely by himself. He has an entourage. So his eternal associates should be there, facing him. Just like when we worship Krishna, who are his associates, not Durga and Ganesh and like that, and like you see in Vaikuntha, he's got his gopis and his gopas. He's got Radharani. We never just put Krishna all by himself, lonely. He's always surrounded by his loving associates. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna, who appeared 500 years ago. And in his pastimes here, he wanted to show by his example how to be a devotee. When Krishna came, he displayed his Vrindavan pastimes. He said, love, which is weakened by a sense of majesty and reverence, it doesn't attract me. All the world worships me with awe and veneration. That's Vishnu, right? All the world worships me with awe and veneration. But I'm not satisfied by that. It doesn't melt my heart. It doesn't capture me. That type of love is kind of weak. What does attract me, what does capture my heart, is love which is completely free of all awe and veneration and pomp and circumstance. I am conquered. My heart melts when I receive love from persons who treat me as their inferior. As their inferior. Mother Yashoda chastises me when I try to eat dirt. She chases after me with a stick when I drink her butter pot. She considers herself superior to me. That kind of love conquers me. My Gopa boyfriends, they jump on my back and ask me to carry them. They challenge me to a game of arm wrestling and try to defeat me. They say, come on, show me what kind of good man you are. They consider me their equal. That kind of love conquers me. The gopis, I am their hen-pecked lover. They reprimand me. They get angry at me. They have me wrapped around their little finger. That kind of love conquers me. It satisfies my heart. So he said, I'm going to go to planet Earth with my loving entourage, and we are going to do a show, and we're going to totally display our Braj Leela. And in this way, the conditioned souls of the earth will become astounded, and they will become attracted, and they will want to enter into that mood. So Krishna came and he did his little show with his entourage, and then he left. But then he said, it's been a long time since I've actually distributed this love of God. And as Krishna, I didn't completely succeed in my mission. As Krishna, I came to show off the Braj Leela in hopes of attracting people to that Braj Prema, but I kind of failed. And why did he fail? What was his failure? It's like this. You want to teach somebody how to ride a bicycle, you have to get on that bicycle and show them. So he said, I will go to Earth again. But this time, I'm going to play the role of a devotee. I'm going to show them how to be a devotee by demonstrating it myself. So he came as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, none other than Krishna, 100% Krishna. But in the mood of the topmost devotee of Krishna, who is Srimati Radharani. So because he has adopted her mood, he has also adopted her complexion, because the complexion is the telltale sign of the mood. So in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one of his purposes was to teach the world by his example how to be a perfect devotee of Krishna. So it would behoove us to analyze his life and see how did he deal with this issue of demigod worship. Doesn't that sound like a good idea? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wants to teach us how to be perfect devotees of Krishna. How many people here want to be a perfect devotee of Krishna? Okay, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his mission is to demonstrate through his own actions, not just through his words, because actions speak louder than words. He wants to demonstrate through his actions how to be a perfect devotee of Krishna. So one of the obviously common questions is going to be, well, what do devotees of Krishna do when it comes to the demigods? How should we interact with them? How should we view them? Well, guess what? You don't have to be on the mental platform, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has answered this question by his own example. So I want to look at a verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And this is in the Adi Leela chapter 7. So right at the beginning, the 7th chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, text number 157. Adi Leela 7, 157. So there, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is briefly narrating, in a summary form, narrating the Lord's pastimes, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. And he's explaining that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did an extensive pilgrimage in South India, a tour of South India. Many of you obviously know that in South India there's lots and lots of temples of Lord Shiva. So here it says that when Lord Chaitanya went to visit the temple of Prithrusrava, this is a name for Lord Shiva. So when the Lord went to visit the temple of Vishveshvara, hundreds of thousands of people assembled to see him. I'm just going to go through the purport, so please try to hear. Srila Prabhupada says, the important point in this verse is that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited the temple of Vishveshvara, Lord Shiva, at Varanasi. Vaishnavas generally do not visit a demigod's temple. But here, we see that Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited the temple of Vishveshvara, who was the predominating deity of Varanasi. This is North India, Varanasi? Okay. Prabhupada says, generally, Mayavadi sannyasis and worshippers of Lord Shiva live in Varanasi. But how is it that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took the part of a Vaishnava sannyasi, also visited the Vishveshvara temple? How's that? The answer is that a Vaishnava does not behave impudently toward the demigods. Or not impudent towards the demigods. Impudent means, kind of rude and arrogant, and I don't need you, and whatever. A Vaishnava gives proper respect to all. Although he never accepts a demigod to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just because you respect somebody who's in a position above you doesn't mean that therefore you say, this person is God, you know? Or this person is as good as Krishna, on the same level of Krishna. Why all this lumping everybody into one category? That is the fault, unfortunately. That's very, very prevalent in the Hindu umbrella today of making everything one, making it all homogeneous, everything equal. But that is impersonalism. You enter a family. Okay, this is the patriarch of the family, right? You know, this is the grandfather, this is the grandchild, who's in charge, who's a, you know. Yes, the family's all one, but there's distinctions. So the influence, the contaminating influence of the Mayavad philosophy, a result of that contamination, is that innocent people make the mistake of putting the demigods on the same level with Vishnu or Krishna. And again, in spiritual life, one's understanding will fuel their intention, and one's intentions in spiritual life are what count, not the rituals, not the mechanics that you go through, not how you move your arm and legs and how you chant your mantras. And it's your intention. So intention which is misinformed ends up in a wrong result, even a detrimental result. But intention that is informed with proper knowledge of the Siddhanta reaps the proper result. So Prabhupada was saying here that although a Vaishnava is not impudent toward demigods, they don't make the mistake of accepting the demigods as equal to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, the Brahma Samhita is a wonderful prayer written by Lord Brahma. We won't go through the whole story, but when it was Brahma's time at the beginning of his day to recreate the universe, he went into deep meditation, performing austerity, and he actually got a darshan of Govinda, Krishna, in Goloka. He got direct darshan of Govinda in Goloka. Upon seeing that darshan and meeting the Lord, he then composed these prayers called the Brahma Samhita. So he had a perfect view of everything and he spoke it as he saw it. So in the Brahma Samhita, there are mantras offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, the Sun God, and Lord Ganesh, as well as Lord Vishnu, all of whom are worshipped by the impersonalists as Panchopasana. In their temples, impersonalists, those that try to just put all the individuals on the same level, in their temples, impersonalists install deities of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, the Sun God, Goddess Durga, and sometimes Lord Brahma also. And this system is continuing at present in India under the guise of the Hindu religion. They're misrepresenting the Hindu religion, and you know what? You should be very angry about this. Would you not be angry if somebody misrepresented you? Say somebody goes to court and they misrepresent you. They're your lawyer, they're supposed to be getting you off the hook, and then they misrepresent you. And they say, yeah, actually she did murder that person. Right? So we travel to universities. We travel to universities and introduce students to Bhagavad Gita. And many students will say, oh yeah, I've heard of Bhagavad Gita. We discussed it in my world religions course in high school or college. So yeah, I learned some stuff about Hinduism. If you sit down and ask these students, what did you learn about Hinduism? What is your understanding of Hinduism now that you took a big course at the university or high school? 99.9% of the time, the students will say, well, my understanding of Hinduism is that it's polytheistic. You guys believe in like hundreds of gods, but you know, in our Christian tradition, we have just one God, and that, therefore, the Christian religion is superior because obviously there's only one God. You can't have competitor gods. So their understanding of Hinduism is a wrong understanding of Hinduism. Therefore, much of the American public thinks Hinduism is unattractive. They think it's stupid. They think it's primitive. They think it's unintelligent. You should be angry about that. When you go to work, or school, or wherever you go, rest assured, your colleagues who are Christians, they may be very politically correct and be very polite to you and wish you a happy new year, and they're very nice to you at work. But inside, they're thinking, oh, this foolish person. They have some really uncivilized, primitive, unintelligent, illogical religion that they follow. An inferior religion. Why do they think like that? Because they've never been educated. They've been educated with the wrong understanding, with a misrepresentation. The professors, the teachers, academia in general, the textbooks, the encyclopedias, the television shows, the internet websites, and Hindus themselves. Your big gurus that you have your pictures of. They themselves are guilty for miseducating the general public. And therefore the general public thinks, no thank you. That's primitive, uncivilized, less intelligent, illogical, unattractive, and it's wrong. You should be outraged about that. Srila Prabhupada left India at the age of 69, had his 70th birthday while traveling to America on a freight boat for 2 months, or 1 month, a little over 1 month. And he literally sacrificed his life. He only slept 3 hours a day, and from 1962, because he left India in 1965, but starting in 1962 through his last breath in November of 1977, he spent 15 years diligently presenting Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so many other smaller books. On top of that, giving daily lecture, writing so many correspondences, having so many conversations with people. And what was he trying to do? To educate people. And he saw that he was up against a big wall, like a tsunami. What was that big wall? A big wall of water coming, a tsunami? What was that big wall? The big wall of miseducation, misrepresentation, wrong teachings. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to give the right teaching so that you could stop being cheated. So it's actually our responsibility to learn the Siddhanta properly and then turn around and teach the world. How are you going to correct your coworkers when you yourself don't know the philosophy properly? When you yourself don't know how to act properly, how are you going to teach your coworkers? How are you going to impress your coworkers? So this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. He came to show the right way to deal with all the different personalities that we find in the universe. So Lord Brahma has very nicely written these prayers in Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada is commenting that the impersonalists who approach these deity forms of Durga, Shiva, Ganesh, etc., they do it in a wrong way. Yet it's being presented as Hinduism. So therefore, we don't even like to use the word Hindu. Because when we use the word Hindu, people go, ooh. Because they've gotten the misrepresentation. So we tell people we're Vaishnavas. Are you Hindu? Well, technically we're Vaishnavas. So Prabhupada continues, Vaishnavas can also worship these demigods. But, okay, did you hear? Don't just hear the first part. A big but. Only on the principles of the Brahma Samhita, which is recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We may note in this connection the mantras for worshiping Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, the Sun God, and Ganesh, as described in Brahma Samhita. So Brahma is so merciful. He gave us a mantra for each and every of those individuals, 5. And Prabhupada's saying, you may not ever worship these demigods unless you totally understand these 5 mantras and look at these demigods only with this conception. So the first one is Durga, the most common. So I'll just read the English translation because they're very beautiful. Well, I'll read the first one. Shrishti stiti pralaya sadhana shaktir eka chayeva yasya bhuvanani viparti durga ichchana rupam api yasya chacheshtate sa govindamari purusham tamaham janani. So this is again Adi Lila, chapter 7, text 157. You'll find these 5 mantras. If you can memorize these 5 beautiful mantras, then you're allowed to keep these personalities on your altar if, and only if, you chant these mantras. So this translation says that the external potency, Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the spiritual potency called Chit. So she's only the shadow. You know, when you want to hug somebody out in the sunshine, you're outside, you want to give somebody a warm hug. How fruitful is it if you try to hug their shadow? Your son or daughter is very hungry, they're outside playing, and you're going to bring them their favorite food, and you put it in the mouth of the shadow. How fruitful is that? Is that a very good idea? So, Lord Brahma is saying that Durga in this material world is but a shadow of the spiritual potency. She's worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. She's only a little servant in the hand of Govinda. The next one is for Lord Shiva. Milk is transformed into yogurt by the actions of acids. Yet the effect, yogurt, is neither the same as nor different from its cause, milk. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Schaumburg, by the name of Shiva, is a similar transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. Next is Brahma. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion, Brahma, receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests a portion of its own light in all the effulgent gems that bear such names as Suryakanta. Next is Ganesh. I worship the primeval Lord Govinda. Ganesh always holds Govinda's lotus feet upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles on the path of progress in the three worlds. Next is the sun god Suryadev. The sun, full of infinite effulgence, who is the king of all the planets and the image of the good soul, is like the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. I'll just do a little bit more of the purport. Prabhupada says, all the demigods are servants of Krishna. They are not equal with Krishna. Therefore, even if one goes to a temple of the Panchopasana, as mentioned above, one should not accept the deities as they are accepted by the impersonalists. All of them are to be accepted as personal demigods, but they all serve under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now I'll go to the end of the purport. One must offer proper respects to all the demigods. If one can offer respects even to an ant, why not the demigods? But again, what does respect mean? One must always know, however, that no demigod is equal to or above the Supreme Lord. Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasava Pujya. Only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all others, including the demigods such as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, and Ganesh, are his servants. Everyone serves the purpose of the Supreme Godhead, and what to speak of such small and insignificant living entities as ourselves. We are surely eternal servants of the Lord. The Mayavad philosophy maintains that the demigods, the living entities, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are all equal. It is therefore a most foolish misrepresentation of Vedic knowledge. And we should be unhappy if our spiritual path is being foolishly misrepresented to the innocent public. So it behooves us to follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's example. And what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ultimately say? Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Eva Kalonasti. But guess what, folks? In this age, no matter what you do in the name of religion, it's not going to be entirely fruitful. Because in this age, all the rituals, all the ceremonies, all the pujas, all the worship is not able to be performed in this age fruitfully. Because in order to do such pujas, etc., rituals and ceremonies, one needs a very, very, very top, most qualified brahmana. And in this age of Kali, there are no such species remaining on this planet. At home, when we do our little Ganesh puja or our Durga puja, or we go to the local Hindu temple and do our Ganesh puja and this puja, that puja, we're going through the motions, but it's not fruitful. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Kevalam. In this age, and why should we take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's opinion? Because he is Krishna. So Krishna, in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, says, guess what, folks? You can't do anything right in this age. Sorry to discourage you. But you can't do anything right. All your pujas, all your rituals, all your ceremonies, all your, Vedic mantra chanting, all your austerities, all your everything will not bear fruit. You only get the satisfaction of going through the motions. The example's given, you beat the husk of grain that's already been husked. And you just keep beating it, you get nothing out of it. You milk a dry cow. Oh, I'm doing real good, look at that. Woo, woo, woo. And then an hour later, you look in your bucket, not one drop. So that the only satisfaction you get is the motions you went through. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, the only thing that works in this age is only one sacrifice, the Harinam Sankirtan Yajna. That simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's the only way to water the root of the tree, to supply food to the stomach, and attain perfection. And how much time do we have left in this life? Does anybody know how much time we have left?
I don't know.
Nobody knows? So, we don't know how much time we have left. How intelligent is it then to misuse or waste or throw away a moment? Is that very intelligent? To throw away a moment, misuse a moment, use it incorrectly? Therefore, every moment must be used solely and wholly and exclusively for glorifying the holy name of Krishna. Why should we take our time to go do some unnecessary, unfruitful activity, even in the name of religion? Stop it! Krishna did it himself. We're going to celebrate next month, early November. Krishna himself said to his own beloved father, stop it! What are you doing? You're wasting time. You're wasting energy. You're wasting your money. You're wasting your human form of life. What are you doing? We're going to worship Indra, Krishna. Don't you know? From Indra comes all the rains and etc. Stop it. Just go worship Govardhan. Because that was actually Krishna in the form of a mountain called Govardhan. Anyway, long story short, the lesson was, you don't have to waste your time. Just worship me, and everything will be taken care of. Oh, but Indra might get angry, and I don't want to make my Ishtadev angry. Don't worry, I'll take care of that anger. So Krishna pushed the buttons in such a way that Indra became very angry. And he threw his thunderbolts, and he threw his torrential rains, and he threw hailstones this big. And Krishna picked up Govardhan with his little finger of his left hand. Everybody was okay. And Indra became pacified. Indra actually was happy that the Brajavasis took the route of just surrendering to Krishna with faith and making Indra angry. Because by Indra becoming angry, he got the mercy of Krishna. Because Krishna smashed his pride. We're only angry because we have pride. So don't have that fear. I hear that a lot from people. Oh, well, if I become an exclusive devotee of Krishna, all my Ishta days that I used to worship, all the demigods are going to become angry at me and I'm going to have some misfortune in my life. What? Didn't you ever read the Govardhan Lila? No misfortune came upon the Brajavasis. They got all fortune. And Indra actually became happy. And this is the proper way to worship me, is by worshiping Krishna. So we'll stop there, see if there's any questions or comments. We have about 15 minutes.
So I understand that all demigods are, we don't have to disrespect them. It's okay to worship them as long as you don't ask for any material benefits. As long as you ask the demigods, worship the demigods with an intention to approach Lord Krishna, and you understand that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? And like when we all know that Krishna is present in every living being as Paramatma, right? So is he present in demigods as well?
Of course.
So could demigods be equal to us, or they are powerful than us?
Just like I already gave the example, some of us are just lowly human beings, and some of us are the president of a country.
Right.
So you're a human being, I'm a human being, there's no difference between us. You happen to be the president of the country, and I happen to be just some worthless citizen.
But those are designations, right?
Yeah.
But for example, an ant and me, right? I'm bigger than an ant, and that doesn't make us equal. But at the same time, an ant is not going to come and worship me. So is that the difference?
Right, you're spiritually equal in the sense that you're both the same quality spirit soul. You just have material differences, designations. So yes, the ant shouldn't foolishly worship you just because materially you're like a zillion times better than them.
Right. So in Krishna's Vishwarupa Darshan, who are all in there? Are the demigods there? So-
Because in the Vishvarupa, the universal form, the Lord is showing his universal form to Arjuna, and he is in this, that's a form in the material world. So in the material world, when we hear that the demigods are parts of the Lord's body, it doesn't mean they're parts of, Vraj Krishna in Goloka running around with the cows, and then all the demigods are parts of his body. No, it's talking about the Virat Rupa. That the Vishnu, one of Vishnu's forms in this material world is as the Virat Rupa, and the demigods are considered parts of that body because they're administering different areas and departments of the universe. They're his agents. They're his arms and legs. Like I might be in charge of a big, big company, and then my employees are like my arms and legs. They go out and sell the product, and I'm just sitting in my office, but they act as my arms and legs. They go out there and do all the work. So in that way, they're considered parts of the Lord's body. Yes, so when the students say to us, oh yeah, I learned about Hinduism in school, and it's very confusing, and it's all polytheism and everything, we immediately say, that's not what the original scriptures are teaching. You've been hearing it from the misrepresented, It's difficult though, because they'll say, but my professor has a PhD. My professor has a PhD in Eastern religions, and that's what they told me. Or, this is what that really kills me. My professor's from India. At the university, maybe I shouldn't say it just in case At one university, there's a woman who is the chairman of the religion and philosophy department, and she's from India. And she always wears a sari. She's like, she considers herself like a real Hindu. She always wears a sari on campus. She teaches like high-level courses, and she's a total Mayavadi. And she totally misrepresents Hinduism at the university. And this is a really, really top university, like a really good university. And so we wanted to put Prabhupada's books in that department's library, because each department will have their own little library. So the religion and philosophy department have their own library. So we wanted Prabhupada's, like Srimad Bhagavatam, etc., to be put in there. She said no, because she knows who Prabhupada is. She knows the Hare Krishna movement. She said no, because Bhaktivedanta Swami puts he puts his own interpretation into the books, and it's not like the right interpretation. You know what I mean? She's like, I'm teaching the right way, and he's teaching the wrong way, backwards. So anyway.
You can't fight the establishment.
Yeah, so the establishment has hired, because if you go in and you teach impersonalism, which unfortunately most gurus from India teach, if you go into the universities, into the establishment and teach Hinduism as impersonalism, academia will embrace you. They'll make you the chairman of the department because you're not threatening their establishment. But if you try to go in there and teach, Hinduism from the Gaudiya Vaishnava perspective, from the actual Siddhantic perspective, they don't want you, because they consider it a threat, because you're obviously devoted to that path, and that's like you're going to preach religion in our course or something. You know what I mean? They're like, so it's very, very, very difficult once a person's been contaminated with improper teachings to try to turn them around. Because then they'll look at us and they'll say, well, you're not from India. My teacher's from India, or my teacher has a PhD. So you should understand that not only are we all at fault, we are all guilty of the world being misinformed because we're not giving the proper information to the world. So not only are we guilty of not educating the world properly, but while we're silent and not educating the world properly, the enemy, if you will, is 24/7 working on how to miseducate the world. I meet, students from Hindu families who don't learn from their parents. Why don't they learn from their parents? Because their parents don't know. Their parents just do their pujas and do all their stuff because that's what grandma did, and has been passed down for generations. So they can't educate their own children. Therefore, their children go to school and learn Hinduism in school. And they're learning it the same way as all the other American students are learning it. Wrong. So, good luck sending your kids to school if you're not educating them properly, because they're going to take what the teachers tell them as gospel truth. Because they have a PhD. They have their teaching certificate. So,
So it's kind of a dead end. That means, so no solution path there to this further.
no solution?
No solution path or approach to proceed further in the situation. You're kind of saying dead end.
He's talking in terms of correcting how
Yeah.
is that
Yeah,
way to
so-
correct those people.
Fighting this.
Amazingly, one of Prabhupada's disciples named Satyaraj Das, Stephen Rosen, he does not have a PhD. He has no position in academia. He's just been a disciple of Prabhupada practically his whole life, since he was in his young 20s. He's very incredibly intelligent and articulate, and he started writing books. And the more he wrote, he just like prolifically writes and publishes articles, and
As a journal.
he has a journal. And he has become so well known and so appreciated and respected that he was actually asked by some big educational, the people who are in charge of like writing textbooks for schools, he was actually commissioned to write the textbook, the definitive textbook for high schools on Hinduism. So you can guess what conclusion he's going to present, right?
Which state?
For the country.
Oh, country.
So Satyaraj Prabhu was commissioned to write the definitive textbook on Hinduism. And apparently, now it's up to high schools to use those textbooks, you know what I mean?
And it was here?
In America. But Prabhupada gave the responsibility to all of us in our own little way to educate people. And if you can't educate people, Prabhupada can by you giving them a book. So we're going to the universities and we're not like professors at the universities, we're not, but we're giving them Prabhupada's books. So some students don't accept them and some students do. So we're just hoping and praying that some of the students who accept them actually get affected by them, and read them, and understand them properly, and get on the right track, Oh, okay, who's next?
Yeah, Gandhi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So Mataji, I have one small question here. We were talking about Durga and Shama and the other demigods, right? We also mentioned about Vaikuntha and Vishnu. So I've always been curious to understand, like, what essentially is the difference? Is there any between Vishnu or Narayana? Because I come from a family where we worship that form of Vishnu. And what is Krishna then? Like, I always, when we grow up, they are the same.
Okay.
Right? So Krishna is a form of Narayana, is how we grow.
Okay. So, just like we have gradations in the material world, lower planets, middle planets, heavenly planets, so in the spiritual world there's gradations. So the whole spiritual world we can call Vaikuntha with many, 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 many planets. And Narayan is the original Vishnu.
Narayana.
Vishnu is the same, it's another name for Narayan. So, but we say Narayan when we're referring to the original Vishnu. Then he has so many expansions into all the different Vaikuntha planets, in which he takes different Vishnu forms, and is the predominating deity of different Vaikuntha planets, named differently, right? Then, though, and most Hindus don't know this, is that above all the Vaikuntha planets, above the original abode of Narayan, is called Goloka. In Goloka, there's divisions, just like on planet Earth we have continents. So in Goloka, which is the topmost spiritual planet, there's divisions. And the outermost division is called Ayodhya. And that's where Lord Ramachandra resides. Then inside that, going more into the center of Goloka, one comes to Dwaraka. And in Dwaraka is where Vasudeva Krishna resides. And then you go more internal and you come to Vrindavan, ultimately Braj. What's the difference? The flavor of love, the type of love. In Vaikuntha, perfect world. But in Vaikuntha, the love towards Narayan is with awe and veneration. You will not find in Vaikuntha Narayan sitting around with his buddies having a picnic, going out and playing in the fields with the cows, walking around with no shoes and a little dhoti and a flower garland. No, Narayan, Vishnu is very opulent with gold ornaments, and he sits on a jeweled throne with Lakshmi, and they're always being served with great awe and veneration and pomp and circumstance. There's not cows, there's horses and elephants. Love with veneration. But above that, the topmost planet is Goloka, where love has been stripped. Veneration, awe and veneration has been stripped away from that love to just reveal naked love. Not love that's still cloaked with some veneration. There is Krishna. He doesn't wear shoes. He doesn't wear fancy golden ornaments. He runs around with a little dhoti, a little flower garland, a little peacock feather, a flute. And he's always surrounded by cows and little cute boyfriends and little cute girlfriends. And his mother's worrying about whether he's eaten today. That is the original form of God. That is the topmost pinnacle understanding of God. Narayan is considered a direct expansion of Krishna. He is Krishna, but with a different mood. What's that called? Yeah, but I mean, Prakash. Baba Prakash or Vaibhava. So, technical terms, but let's put it this way. Narayan is Krishna in work clothes.
Okay.
When you're at home, you're like relaxed. You might be running around with little, shorts on, a t-shirt. You might even run around with your birthday outfit on. You're totally relaxed at home. Your child can jump on your back and say, "Come on, let's play horsey." But when the bell rings, the alarm clock goes off on Monday morning and you go to your office, all of a sudden now you have a very fancy dress on, everything's all proper, and you go to work and it's all very respectful. Oh, Mr. So-and-so and Miss So-and-so. Or if you're a high court judge, oh, Your Honor, Your Honor. Right?
So can I say, or can I, given the fact that there are two different modes, right? So in the Sampradaya that you have said Narayana or Vishnu as the primordial path, right? Is the concept of bhakti even possible there? Because when we think of bhakti and the way you're describing it, right? You're thinking of Krishna, that's more relatable, that's more personal.
Okay.
But when you're thinking of Narayana, there's awe, there's veneration, there's no bhakti there.
Thank you.
So,
Very, very good question. Many people use the term bhakti incorrectly. According to Rupa Goswami, bhakti is exclusively for Krishna. Bhakti refers to that kind of love, which is free from all awe and veneration. It's even free from knowledge. See, I know this person is a high court judge, so I treat them like a high court judge, or a policeman, or something like that. I'm like, and maybe they come home, maybe they're my father. So my father comes home and he's like the big high court judge or the big policeman, and I'm still thinking of him like that. So then my relationship with my father is a little bit guarded because, ooh, he's a high court judge. I shouldn't offend him. So my relationship with my father is impaired by my knowledge of his big position. So I must turn off that knowledge in order for me to be very intimate with my father. And I can boss him around. Get out all fours, Daddy, let's play horsey. Let's compete with arm wrestling. Hey, Daddy, can you do this for me? Do this for me? So in Goloka, Yoga Maya allows all the residents of Braj to be unaware of Krishna's godhood. How could Mother Yashoda chase Krishna with a stick and threaten him if she knew he was God? How are you going to do that?
So that knowledge is
Turned off, covered by the curtain of Yoga Maya illusion. But it's not the illusion that we have here. Here, We also don't understand that Krishna is God. But it's not because Yoga Maya curtain is there, it's because Maha Maya curtain is there, and that's Durga's job to disperse the Maya. So, Bhakti, Rupa Goswami says, only refers to love for Krishna. If you want to use the word Bhakti, then you have to say Vishnu Bhakti if you're referring to Narayana. But Bhakti actually means exclusively for Krishna. Not that there's not love in Vaikuntha, don't get all get me wrong, but it's an Aishvarya mood or mood of reverence, whereas in Goloka it's Madhurya or sweet. Sweet. I don't recognize that you're a big important person, therefore I can chase you with a stick. I can challenge you to a game of arm wrestling. I can pout and get mad at you. So Narayan is considered an expansion of Krishna. They're both eternal. You can't say once upon a time Krishna expanded into Vishnu. They've always both been eternally there. But ontologically, Krishna's the origin. Because he displays 100% his qualities. And Narayan displays 95% of Krishna's. Well, there's 4 qualities that Krishna has that Narayan doesn't have. Prema Madhurya is one of them. Means he has sweet, loving exchanges with his devotees that nobody else can have. Rupa Madhurya, his form is so sweet. The little peacock feather and flowers in his hair as a youth, right? His form is revealed. It's not covered up with all these big gold ornaments. And it's as a youth. Then Leela Madhurya, he's always surrounded by so many associates that he has interactions with. And Venu Madhurya, that his flute is outstanding compared to anybody else's flute because it can attract Radharani. Nobody else's flute can attract Radharani. His flute is a special category. Okay, we'll go with Uma and then we'll go with Uma. We'll go with Uma because she's the host.
Yeah.
We'll go with her.
My question could be lame to most devotees based on their level. It's about Ekadashi, today being Ekadashi. I try my best to do Ekadashi with them, but what happens is not everybody in my family does Ekadashi with them. So for them, I cook with grains, and I do offer it to Krishna too. But then I eat whatever I've made personally for myself, which does not have grains. But then I have this very stubborn daughter whom I have to feed. So I literally, mix it with my hand and then I feed her. And as you know, our skin is like hollow and empty.
Okay,
So
so no,
then
that's
does
not a
it
problem.
penetrate?
No, that's not a problem. At the temple, the Krishna lunch serves grains on a kadashi. Not a problem. Ramesh.
This is a comment on the last question. Vibhu Prabhuji, in one of the Bhakti Vriksha which happened at Arana Prabhu's house, he asked the question, they are coming to this Bhakti Vriksha so long, now tell me who are not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Then he asked the question. By the time I don't know how many days we are coming for the Bhakti Vriksha, everyone raised their hand. I raised the hand. So then I told Vibhu Prabhuji, I raised the hand, but we are surrendering to Krishna as well as we are surrendering to other gods also. He said, it's okay for now because you are coming on. So eventually you will get it, he said. Then when I was talking to my wife at home also, I used to think, Prabhupada visited US, then you would have seen this Western people, it's very difficult to teach about all the gods. So he wanted to bring the focus, so he brought Krishna in the center. So I was thinking to myself.
That's what
I've
So
seen
to
it.
keep it simple.
So like that, but I was surrendering to Krishna, no doubt about it. But I was thinking, oh God, those gods are also real because we are praying with them from our childhood, right? So how can we just not praying to them or praying only Krishna? Even we had the concept of till now we are praying for them for all the good things. Now we are changing what they will think, what they will do. So many thoughts, Mataji, but still we have started thinking Krishna as the supreme God.
Very
Because
good.
of this teaching. But today, that even my smallest doubt also gone.
Mati, you said that Vaishnava should respect you, even that. So what to think of a demigod? So can you just explain what is respect, how to respect?
Thank you, that's a really excellent question. How to respect someone properly. One time, Srila Prabhupada was sitting in his room in India, one of his rooms in India, and he had some disciples in the room, and they were discussing something very important. And they had some persons who came and cleaned, so the cleaning lady came, just some common cleaning lady came, and she opened the door and she went, oh, a meeting going on. So she very shyly backed up. Prabhupada immediately stopped the meeting and said, it is her time to clean, we must depart the room. He didn't say, yeah, go away, we're having an important meeting. He said, oh, it's her time to clean, it is our time to depart the room, go somewhere else. So to respect somebody means to allow them to be in the position that they're in and do their function. So we respect an ant by not killing it, allowing it to have its little ant hill and whatever. We respect the animals by letting them have their abodes. We don't cut down all the trees and send the deer out into the street to get killed by cars. And we respect the demigods by letting them be demigods. Don't elevate them to a position that they're not and offer them something that they're not. Yeah, it's an imposition. You go to the office and you start treating, the supervisor as the CEO. They're just like an ordinary supervisor. And you start calling them the CEO. And you start offering them whatever services you would normally offer the CEO, and you start giving them praise and glory that you would offer the CEO, and you're giving it to the supervisor. Supervisor's not going to be happy. You know why? Because they actually want the CEO to be pleased. And you're not going to please the CEO by treating the supervisor as the CEO. So that's how you show respect to living entities, is by understanding what their position is and then treating them accordingly.
So I have a follow-up question on that. So in that case, I understand that this is their position. So, but Supreme Lord resides in that temple, so I have to go to the temple. I know, into temple, there will be Supreme Lord, Narayana will be there. Other demigods will be surrendered there. So I'll take darshan of Lord first, and then I have to circumambulate. When I happen to see them, I'll just go to each place and then give them due respect. So it is there, but I heard one thing, but whatever the material desire, even though we are not asking, it also fulfilled because we go them, and then even though I pay respect, but it has been fulfilled by demigods. Is that true? Or what to do in those cases?
You're saying that you're afraid that if you go and offer respects to demigods and you happen to have material desires hiding in the corner of your heart, that they're going to fulfill them?
I'm not afraid, but this is a curious question to ask. So it is also said that it will be fulfilled. So that's why you respect them, but you don't need to go there. Just go direct darshan and then come back. This is the way you can do it. Be able to understand or not able to understand the question.
So for example, if it's like a Narayana temple, but it's not just going to have the Narayana deities.
Right.
There are other demigods too. So when you're going around do the parikrama, you will see the other deities too. So they usually pay obeisances each place as they come back. So is that okay to do, or I just go to Narayana and just walk out? Right?
Well, there's certainly no harm. I mean, but we just read.
The question
Then you
is,
have to do it with the proper
Will
understanding.
they satisfy the material desires from the core of the heart?
that's what.
Will that end up, that's what I'm saying, will that cause our material desires to be fulfilled?
Yes.
Correct.
I don't think so. Not if you do it with
Proper understanding.
that. It's not that easy. But that's unfortunate that people think, if I go to the temple and circumambulate this deity, then my desires are going to get fulfilled. Actually, demigod worship in the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, it's very elaborate. And you don't just do it at home. Like I have a picture on my altar and I offer some incense. It's actually very elaborate. And I already said it requires brahmanas who can recite the Vedic mantras perfectly and offer all the items. It's a big deal to worship a demigod. I doubt there's really a whole lot of real demigod worship going on, even in the Hindu temples. Excuse me. So even if you did the demigod worship perfectly, first of all, you have to do it completely perfectly. Then maybe you can get your material desires fulfilled. But it's not because I offered a stick of incense or I'm circumambulating them that, oh, now the material desires of my heart are going to get fulfilled. So Krishna, or Srimad Bhagavatam, Sutta Goswami already says in Srimad Bhagavatam, it doesn't matter whether your heart is free of material desires or completely full of material desires. You should still go just only exclusively directly to Krishna. Even if you're asking for material desires to be fulfilled, because Krishna loves you. So he'll fulfill your desires or not in such a way that it's best for you. If he says, no, it's not good for me to give this person that thing that they're asking for, then he won't give it. But if he says, I can give it to them, but I'll do it in such a way that they become purified of that desire. But the demigods are not like that. When a demigod fulfills your material desire, it's like you put 25 cents in the gumball machine, you get a gumball. It's just mechanical. The gumball machine is not thinking, oh, but you have diabetes, you're not supposed to eat sugar. Right? Or your mother told you can't have candy because you have too many cavities. So, so demigod worship is like that. And there's examples, right? Lord Shiva gave Vrikasura the benediction that whoever's head he touched, it would explode. And then the fool, he got tricked by Krishna, where Krishna said, you can't trust Lord Shiva, sometimes he lies. How do you know? How do you know that you actually got that benediction from Shiva? Did you even try it out to see if it works? No. Well, maybe you should try it out. Oh, that's a good idea. Why don't you just touch your own head, and then you can prove that you didn't really get the benediction, and then you touched his head and it exploded. So, the demigods are like that gumball machine. You put your worship in, you get the result, whether it's good for you or not. How many people here, if a child were to approach you, a small child were to approach you, and ask you for a sharp knife, how many of you would give the child a sharp knife? Anybody? Good. You know what that means? You know what that means? You're not demigod. Because if you go to a demigod and you ask for the child asks for a sharp knife, they'll get a sharp knife. Because it has nothing to do with whether it's good or bad for you. So therefore, Sutta Goswami says, if you have material desires, take them to Krishna. Because at least Krishna will deal with them in a way that's good for you.
Now we go to the Aurora Balaji temple. We pray to Lord Vishnu. And the same temple we had Lord Shiva and other demigods. So do we need to pay obeisances and walk out, or how do we pray to?
You can
the
pay your
demigods?
obeisances, you can offer items, but you have to chant those 5 verses from the Brahma Samhita. So please go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, Chapter 7, Text 157, and you'll find 5 beautiful verses from the Brahma Samhita. Memorize those 5 verses, and when you see those personalities, you recite those verses. Not just recite them like a playback machine, but actually understand what the verse is saying.
Another quick question.
Gayatri.
Yeah.
So I have 2 questions, Mataji. One is, how like Navratri and Ganesh Puja and all that things, if they're offering worships to demigod and offering the prashadam, the demigod worship prashadam. So will it be okay to have it?
Well, when they do that, they're supposed to be offered. Real demigod worship, according to the Vedic
It
literature,
is
offered to Vishnu. Offered to Vishnu, and then the demigod gets the prasad. So if you receive it, then it's Vishnu prasad. If you see it, so learn to see it properly. This is actually Vishnu prasad.
So if I see it properly, it's fine. Okay. Because most of I hear what you're saying, because when we start any worship, we start with Shukram Bhadram Vishnu. So that shloka itself, I came to know that it is a Vishnu shloka and not Ganesha shloka. The huge understanding in India right now is it's Ganesha shloka. But every single worship we start with Vishnu, and then we say go Achyutayam Govindayam, and we end also there. So basically it starts and ends, and then only demigod access it. So that is the...
Okay, I would like to make one point. That, when you start a trip, you pull out of your driveway and you start going forward, then you meet different forks in the road. So to drive from here to New York, you're going to have to make a lot of road changes, right? Change from this road to that road, turn left, turn right, blah, blah, blah. When you start off, all you're seeing is the initial path. You're not seeing all. So in spiritual life, it's like that too. We just kind of start off on an initial path. But as you make advancement, you have to start making turns. And you have to make choices at the forks. Because you're not going to reach the destination if you don't learn to make the choices. You have to start bringing it down to details. Right now you're just seeing the general picture. I'm going from Chicago to New York. Then you expand the map, expand the map, expand the map, you see all the details. So as we're going forward in spiritual life, please don't take this wrongly when I say this, but if we're actually making advancement in Krishna consciousness, we will even give up going to temples of Narayan. Why? Because you start honing in on what your actual destination or goal is. So our goal is Vraja Bhakti. Our goal is to go to Vraj in Goloka, to be with Gopal, Govinda, his gopas, his gopis, his cows. So Narayan worship or any other worship is incongruent with that. So when we're very neophyte, we're like covering all the bases, every Vishnu form. We're going to Ramachandra, we're going to Krishna, we're going to Narayan, we're going to Nrsimhadev, we're going to all the Narayan forms. But as we make advancement, we start honing in on which is my Ishtadev. And so we start eliminating that which is not congruent with that flavor of love. Even one becomes a Krishna Bhakta, when they become more advanced, they're going to start honing in on what's my specific rasa.
Yeah.
Am I more attracted to the Vatsalya rasa, the parental mood, the Madhurya rasa, the lover mood, the Sakya rasa, the friendship mood? And we'll start saying, like, I prefer to hear pastimes of the Sakya rasa more than the Vatsalya rasa, or I prefer, the childhood form of Krishna over the little bit grown up. So ultimately, as we make advancement, we will naturally hone in on, how will you reach your goal if you never narrow down to the actual goal? You will not. Don't think that when death comes, you're going to go to Goloka and be with Govinda if you haven't honed in on that. Exclusively, Krishna says. The child cannot look at the father with a playful, intimate, casual mood and at the same time view him as the high court judge. He can toggle between those two conceptions. So when I see you as a high court judge, and then I see you as my casual father, and then I see you as the high court, and then I see you as my I'm toggling. But if I actually want to nurture this love over here, the casual, intimate love over here, it's hindered every time I deal with you as a high court judge. So each and every one of us is at a different level of advancement. And the more we hear about the destination, the more it'll become obvious what is not congruent with my cultivating that mood.
It's like I heard in one of the lectures, it's like right now when we start, it may be feeling like our heart is like an ice, but it has to melt, right? The knowledge helps me, I'm able to understand that Krishna is the Supreme, but when it comes to, feeling it, realizing it, it is like, am I really realizing it, or am I, sometimes is it pretend because, you're supposed to think like that, so that...
We're not giving our heart to Krishna because we don't trust.
Yeah.
Okay, would you time to, maybe this will be the last point because it's getting late.
So one thing I see everyone struggling is when due to social, because we have families, there are friends, and they are not attending the party. They don't know the real system. So they perform some other connection, and then they invite. So if she invites me and I know her, she's not attending some social event. So I am obligated in one sense to go to her house. And then she gives me pressure. And then there is no way that it is not. So what should we progress on? I know this is where we are, but where should we move on?
Well, I would say that there's no danger in that. Rupa Goswami explains what pure bhakti is. Anyad lashita shunyam jnana karma jnanavritam. In the commentary, it's explained that a devotee may, because of family or social or whatever responsibilities or pressures or whatever, they may go do some activity with their family, which is not on the level of pure bhakti, like you just mentioned. But they, the devotee, is not guilty of violating the Anyadivashita Shunyam verse by simply going and appeasing their family or friends or society by taking part in some function, as long as it's not like, obviously, it's a sinful function or something. I'm talking about ordinary religious rituals and ceremonies. But that devotee has to have the proper conception. So one time Prabhupada was with devotees and he said that if you purchase, they were in Vrindavan, and he told the devotees to go purchase some samosas. So they went and purchased some samosas. And they brought them back, and they said, and Prabhupada said, okay, let's serve them. No, we have to offer them first, the devotee said. It's not offered yet. And Prabhupada said, no, you paid for it, so it's already considered prasadam. Of course, this was Vrindavan.
Oh.
So, but still, the point remains, you know, the conception. So we don't want to offend people. It's like, is that a good way to preach to people? Like Prabhu said that he and others who joined in his time, they would go home and visit their family, and now it's like, oh, I can't sit at the same dinner table with you because you're eating meat, and now I'm a pure vegetarian. So his family was eating their dinner, and he'd go sit in the corner over there. Now, how did that serve to help turn his parents on to Krishna consciousness? Because they just took it as, you're a fanatic. Now you don't love us anymore. You know? So we can, again, attend these types of things if, remember, I was reading what Prabhupada said, that one can even worship a Vaishnava can even worship the demigods, but he said it has to only be done with the understanding the principles laid out in Brahma Samhita. So again, I'll say, go to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Amrita, chapter 7, text 157, and memorize those 5 Govinda prayers. And then if you have to attend such functions, at least you're in the right consciousness. And then gradually, you can start turning on your family members to these ideas. You know, we can improve your Ganesh Puja, by the way. Let me add something to your Ganesh Puja. And gradually you can teach them something. And why was that not Vishnu Prasad? You're not actually worshiping Ganesh if you're not making it Vishnu Prasad. But we have to, if we can't educate our own family, who are you going to educate? You know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who said, stay at home. Be a guru at home. Don't try to be a Jagat guru. You know, good luck being a guru in your family.
Yeah, that is tough work.
You know, but first we have to educate ourselves, become educated ourselves, I should say.
Because it's again fighting against the establishment. The establishment has they sometimes see people see as a convert, you know.
So I guess we should stop there. It's getting late.
Oh, thank you, Mataji.
It's 9:30.
His Grace Prithrusrava Prabhu and Dhanakeli Mataji ki
Jai.
Prabhupada. So it's Prashadam time and